is it all about having a great agent for skilled, experienced actors to get their foot in the door, like yours? Or do you have suggestions for to advance your industry presence or getting auditions if you don't have like a top agent?
You know, if you don't have the top agent, but even if you do, keep studying, keep doing plays, if you want to be a duck, do some quacking, right?
Yes.
If you want to be an actor, keep acting. And nowadays, you and 3 of your friends can make a movie on your phone, or you can get together every Friday night and put the beer in the refrigerator and read 2 comedy scripts and 1 drama script for an hour and a half, and then open the beer.
Absolutely. I've done that too, with the beer, but and it makes it so much looser and sloppy. I don't even know if we get into finishing it, but that was a while ago. Okay, let's see. Himes, Mr. Levey, how has casting changed since you started? That's a loaded question.
Well, we could be here for the rest of our lives.
Did you change or keep true to who you are, even with Zoom? Thank you.
Well, true to who I am is the only way I know how to go about it. If I'm going to make the demand on you that you be true to who you are and true to who the character is, I better be true to who I am too.
Yeah.
So, but how's it changed? I mean, I have a photograph of myself with Patricia Noland, who was my associate for many years, and we were sitting on the floor of my office. We're casting the pilot of The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr., and there is a stack of photographs between us, which is taller than us on the floor. And so we used to have to open 1,000 envelopes and sort their contents. And that took so much time. And that's the way in which technology has made life wonderful.
Yeah.
The electronic submissions they're already sorted for you, by character and by agent, and all of the ways in which Gary Marsh and his people influenced the world.
Sure.
Have been great. But because I'm old school and rely on the ways in which I grew up in the business, I so much miss being this close to an actor and reading with them and looking into their eyes and trying to give them signals, bumping their pacing, or taking a deep breath myself to try to encourage them to do that. Mm-hmm. And also, I learned so much about you in the hallway, in the waiting room, in the way you come in the door, in the way you greet the writer, producer, director who are in the room with me. All of that is just as important as the actual audition, because we're agreeing pretty much on instinct and some information to spend 12 hours with you if it's a day job, or 6 months with you if it's a series regular job. Right. And we have to find out as much about you as we can, as quickly as we can. Right. And that's not as easy as it was in the room.
Right.
I don't know if I answered the question.
Yeah, I think I think you did. It's adapting. So, but you're still doing in-person stuff. Like, I still get in-person auditions. It's just way more narrowed down. Uh-huh. And you always narrowed down. So I knew, unless it was like coming back again for something that was like a larger role or something like that. But yeah, I'm starting to get more of this in-person thing.
Oh, that's great to hear.
It is delightful.
Yeah.
Oh, the feeling. And it's not about outcome. Am I going to hear?
It's about the experience.
The experience.
Yeah.
And like that, missing that is a big thing. So hopefully it's coming back a little bit more. Okay, in this new world of self-tape, this is from Kenzo Lee. In this new world of self-tape auditions, what do you see as the biggest challenges actors need to remember that seem to be constantly forgotten when you receive tapes?
Well, I don't think actors are forgetting things. I think maybe it, because there's lights, camera, action, microphones, and all of that, it encourages a performance element that I think it takes away from your sort of organic take on the role, and I think there's a tendency now for actors on self-tapes to try to do it right, to try to get it right. And in live auditions, I always try to encourage you to be loose enough to discover something, to do it wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, remember when Marlon Brando turned the chair around and sat on it like it was a horse or a woman? And that's the wrong way to sit on a chair, right? But it said so much about who he was.
Yeah. So good. Okay, Swati, she is, I believe, in Malaysia. What are the things that actors do which ticks you off the most in the casting room?
Being unprepared, which is a form of being rude, not taking the work seriously. I mean, I've often said, take the work seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously.
100%.
But if you're just lazy and rude and stupid, it's going to read, and it's not very attractive to be lazy, rude, and stupid.
Right.
You could play a lazy, rude, and stupid character, but you have to do it respectfully.
Yeah.
Respectfully of the character and respectfully of the people in the room with you and the whole process and the whole community. That we're recognize that I'm an artist too, and we're collaborating on this piece of work, which precedes the work that's going to end up being seen, but it's still just we're in it together. And if you're drawing undue attention to yourself by having terrible manners, well, that's not going to win you very many parts.
Right. So can you tell if someone instinctively on their vibe, if they're going to be a good team player? I mean, have you kind of
you develop that over relationships. I mean, when I would see your face pop up, you were with Scott Manners in those days, weren't you?
No, I was with Melanie Sharp.
Melanie Sharp,
who was taken ill and isn't really.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But when I would see your face pop up or come out of an envelope or for a particular part, and I would think to myself, I know I can rely on her to do a good job. And whether she'll get the job or not is a whole other story. But if I'm going to bring in 6 people, she's not going to make me look bad.
No. Thank you. Appreciate that. I remember one time I came and we were talking about headshots, and I still always bring a headshot. It's just like ingrained in me since I was like 2. So I had a headshot, and I was like, "Hey, John, do you need a headshot?" And he said, "Alyson, I could wallpaper my bathroom with the amount of headshots I have of you." And I was like,
I remember saying things like that,
which was great because it was funny and it was, it was probably true. Are there any other questions up there? Okay. Okay, we did that one.
No, we did that.
Oh, sorry. Has a full body shot ever been the determining factor between which actor gets chosen for a role? This is Deshane Harrington. I believe that's more so with commercials.
Yeah, but not in a television audition. I mean, what you look like is always important, and there are some things you can do about it. You can talk to your hairstylist about a good new color, or whatever.
This will be blonde next week, I think.
And you can go to the gym, or you can accept the fact that you're plus sized, or you can't be taller than you are, or shorter than you are, or you got what you got.
Right.
But in theatrical, while it is important what you look like and what you sound like, it isn't the determining factor. It's your work.
It is your work. I love that. Is there any other? Sorry, it just keeps, I can't read it. Do you like working with intense method actors? That's from Christopher Silva.
Sometimes, yes, if their technique is good, and if the intensity isn't falsely generated, if it's real method work,
right.
I have great respect for that. If it's I think so many techniques over the years have been bastardized and oversimplified, and wearing a black leather jacket doesn't make you dangerous.
Right. Some people think it does.
Yeah.
but it doesn't. How important is an actor's presence following on social media? That's Elizabeth Kuiper.
To me, not at all. I'm on Instagram now, which is where we met, which I was very grateful for, because it's a spectacular tool for promoting my book. But I don't care so much about your cat wearing a birthday hat or what you cooked for dinner last night, unless you invited me. All of that. I mean, so much of Instagram is not relevant.
Right.
It is. I mean, and sometimes it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Want to see my hot pictures and maybe get my number? Follow me. It's like, oh, Jesus.
Did you get some of those?
Oh, God, yes.
More on that later.
I press remove.
Is that a block or remove? Yeah. Oh, gosh. Okay. Do CDs care much about an actor's resume when selecting for a role?
Absolutely. Yeah, I care about your training very much. I care about the roles you've played. If I'm looking for on Shameless for a sexy woman who is out front about her sexuality, and I see you've played Maggie the cat in a equity production, I know that somebody believes that you are Maggie.
Right.
And she's the archetype of every sexy woman that ever was.
Right. And you've trained and like a lot of assistants that you've had who I've had the pleasure of knowing, like Melanie and Tawny and stuff. So
and Kevin Scott.
Yeah. So, and he did the West Wing. I did remember going in for the West Wing, and I didn't know I was going to be reading with Aaron. And you bring this up in the book, which is actually it's such a smart part of the book for me, because I have been in there and read with him, and it was this the whole time. And I was like, oh, fudge, what am I supposed to... And it didn't take me out. It just I just thought, oh, he's so uninterested in me that he doesn't even want to connect with me. Oh, I guess I won't be hearing on that one.
I don't think it's so much that. I think he thinks that no one can say his words better than he can. And that he can create the pace and intelligence that he's always looking for. And if you can keep up with him... he has a positive impression of you, and if you can't, but it wasn't.
It was rapid. Yeah. I mean, it was just, and it was intense. It was, and I do just remember that. That's the only bit of it I remember is script in front of face, and
I don't know how he could ever really. I mean, it was difficult for me when I was reading opposite actors to have one eye on the text and one eye on the actor. But I always tried to make sure. Well, eventually I knew the words pretty well after reading them 2,000 times, right?
Yeah.
But I wanted the actor to always feel that they were the most important person in the room. And Aaron has never been in a room where he felt anyone was more important than he was.
Yes, and there's some great stuff in the book about that too, which was really eye-opening and really cool. It says a lot about you too as a human. So let's see. Is there a certain method of acting that you think works better than others, or do you believe the actor should find a method that works best for them? That's from Evan.
Well, I think yes. The answer is yes. You should find a teacher who speaks a language that you understand. The truth is, everybody is essentially saying the same thing. I think, or 80% or something. You're the person you end up in a long-term relationship with is the one that's right for you.
Right.
And you're not looking for the best woman on the planet Earth. If you're me, you're looking for a woman who makes you feel good and makes you feel important and wants to share things with you and wants to bring out the best in herself and in you. All of those, and same with teachers. It's like, something about the way you approach it, how much humor there is in it, how serious you are, how disciplinarian you are, all of those things. I would never have been able to be in an acting class with a teacher who tears people down.
No.
But a lot of famous teachers are famous for tearing people down, and they think it's important to tear them down so they can put them back together in their own image.
Yeah. And that's weird. That feels very abusive to me. It doesn't
me
feel
too.
right. Does not feel right at all.
But for some people, they need, apparently, that works for some people.
Right.
And, I might have a thought about it. I'll try not to have a judgment about it.
You should be my spiritual advisor as well, John, because that is absolutely correct. No judgment. Let's see, is there another? What do you look for in a headshot? Are you looking for a character per se, or are you looking for a feeling, or both? What's the best way to approach as an actor? By impersonating certain characteristics or character, or honestly being yourself?
I think, you should act when you're in your photo shoot.
Agreed.
You should connect to something emotional. You should have some kind of thought process. You should what if yourself into some kind of circumstances, imaginary. It's not, again, the black leather jacket doesn't make you dangerous or sexy. I think if you want to take a sexy picture, well, you can adjust your clothing a little bit to reveal more of your body, perhaps. But the best way to get a sexy picture is to think about something sexual.
Right. Yes.
I've
actually coached people for headshots.
Yeah.
And it's
it's another opportunity to act.
Yes.
And if you're all like uptight and wondering how you're looking, and if that's your focus, that's not going to produce a particularly interesting shot.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely. Where are we here? Elizabeth, again, are self-tape clips acceptable to add to reels, or is it worth paying a price to write and film a professional scene? So nowadays they have these places you can go and they shoot the scene for you and they edit it. And it looks like a low budget kind of film, but at least it's better than shooting on your camera, right?
Right.
So they have those services, which if I was new, I'd be like, yes, I'm in, But now it's kind of acceptable to self-tape a monologue at home,
right,
and put it up on your Actors Access reel.
Yeah, I guess. The only time I watch reels is if I've talked with your agent and I say, I've just never seen Alyson be that sophisticated. I'm making that up.
That's okay.
And she says, no, I have a piece of film which shows her in an evening gown with a glass of champagne in her hand, and I think you'll like it. And then I'll watch it, and I'm happy to be wrong.
Okay. So, question about...
But I don't watch reels, in up front.
For submissions and stuff? Okay. So, with the agents, like, breakdowns are like, no phone calls, please, absolutely no phone calls. So, how do agents pitch these days? Are they... Email. Just email. So, are they... So
and we say that on breakdowns, please no phone calls, the written submissions only, and we don't mean it. We mean if you don't really have a relationship with me, don't call me.
Okay.
If you do have a relationship and you want to really pitch somebody, and I know that when you're excited about an actor that I should pay attention,
right,
then please call me.
Right. So what if an agent... I mean, I don't know if you encounter this, but like if an agent pitches you 3 people, same type, same role, are you like, or if they pitch one person to you?
Yeah. Well, I'm more impressed with a passionate, singular submission than I am,
their whole roster of people that fit that age range.
Because then I think your passion is false.
Absolutely. Love that. So I have some questions of my own. Where are we? About the HS. What does HS mean?
Headshot.
Oh,
headshot.
Sorry, guys. About the headshot, does that mean to have different thoughts and emotions in different pics?
Yes. People used to say, "Oh, here's my mom shot. Here's my sexy lady shot. Here's my business shot. Here's my
nurse shot." Did you get a lot of scrubs?
Or blue collar? Yeah. Oh, I mean, I got people sending me stethoscopes in the mail. They were
guess a
toy
promo.
ones from,
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
That's hilarious.
But yeah, you should have different shots that all look like you, but all represent your making a different kind of a connection.
Okay. So it's not just about different costumes, it's about what's coming up for you from within. So, yeah, that's pretty clear. Okay, so can we go over to breakdowns? Breakdowns. So we have breakdowns. You put a lot of breakdowns in the book, which I loved.
About myself.
Breakdown. No, the breakdowns. The
the
character
actual
descriptions,
breakdowns.
the actual breakdowns, which I thought was such an interesting thing to put up. We can do Kev, sure. So, do you write these breakdowns? Do the writers write the breakdowns, or the producers write the breakdowns?
It varies, but I have written many breakdowns, and then I send them to the writer, and they'll make changes, and then I'll send them to the director, and they'll make some additions or changes, and then when I'm working with John Wells, he gets the final pass at the breakdowns, and then they go out.
Okay, all right. So,
and that's the same way that the auditions travel in that same trajectory. The people who would have been in the room watch it, and then we form a kind of consensus. We narrow it down and send them to John, and he says, please use Alyson.
From your mouth, too. Okay, so I wanted to look at the breakdowns, because these breakdowns are amazing, because they are, I don't see it, but that's okay, it's over there. They're so complex, and there's so much to play within each of them. They're so well written, and it's the only thing that actors get to connect themselves to the characters or what the project is. So it's an interesting thing that comes up with, there's so many different ways actors approach these breakdowns, and I've done them also. Not looking at them at all because it gets in your head. Overdoing it, where you're defining every single word and what does that mean. So what would you suggest would be the best way for an actor to look at the character description?
I think you should read it with a thoughtful, mindful approach, and then I think you should read the material and see how it stimulates you, how it impacts you, and then I think you should read the material again and deepen those things as you approach beginning to make choices. And by making choices, I mean making choices about where you're at and what you're thinking and what you're feeling, and defining the circumstances, not the result. And then I think eventually you should speak it and see where it takes you.
Right. So like a one glance, because I have my own theory, my own kind of method, if you will, that I try to kind of have students look at them in a kind of vibing way, like picking out the things that that really resonate with you.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
We do have this one breakdown here. We got it in the book, but it's Kev, right? Is it Kev or Lip? Lip. So where it says he's got an acerbic wit, he's quick with his hands, but he's super smart. So it's these really cool contrasts with the character. So, but then there's also the psychology behind it, right? So what makes someone want to, is there some people pleasing going on there because he wants to be liked, but you know, so you can, these little bits, I mean, there's been many times in my life where I have like labored, dissected on every level, and then not looked either. So I know a lot of actors do these things. So your suggestion is to absorb and then go to the material.
Yeah. And find the places where your own experiences marry with the experiences that are described for the character, and then use your imagination to fill in the blanks.
So another trap with the breakdowns for actors, I think, is wanting to be what they want.
Yeah. I think strategizing in general is a bad idea.
Agreed.
Connecting is so much more important. And then you'll either be right or you won't. But in the meantime, you got a chance to act.
Yeah. I mean, I have so many actors come in that are like, I've read this book and I did it. And I'm like, you can't think your way into being a great actor. You have to emotionally connect. You have to connect text to emotions. Like, you know, I can't.
I don't agree that. Well, some
tough.
people say it's not a good idea. it's not a good thing for an actor to be too smart.
Yeah.
And I think that's an insult.
Yeah.
But I think what that really should be said is that it's not a good idea for an actor to be too cerebral, trying to puzzle it out and figure it out. I think you should what if yourself into it. And then if there's a place that you feel dead, then imagine. That's what your imagination is for.
Right. What is it? Paralysis by analysis.
Yes.
Yes.